91 notes that the singular position of pronoun is carrying the application of race to the U.S. not to 50 states. Tribes are not in the U.S. They're reviewed as foreign nations. Eagle 18. Native American tribes are separate nations. Treaties when negotiated with the treaties are not signed with the group that part of the country rather than the other Native American tribes are not part of the U.S. Violation the absence of public water in the United States was for limited ground. There's an infinite number of water outside the U.S. government jurisdiction limiting them to the water. The federal government has control over the key to limited on the whole acts and gives a negative stable set of generics enough. Affirmative fails to recognize the reason for the water crisis. The drive for profit under capitalism undermines the native survival. Intervening actor will try to protect the private interests of laws to secure the water for themselves means the app can solve only all provides a solution. Channel 19. Obama proved ongoing development of capitalism never stops targeting the indigenous population with the destruction of standing rights and the reservation of the water supply and relationship with the water resources and the ocean charter conflict and the anxious to particular control over the resources of capitalism increasing worry that they take right of water that will be used rise up against and the carbon capture will be things so created that will start to impede the business and the security. The system is terminally unsustainable as a root cause of every impact and the community save it only results in the extinction of scapegoating violence. Robinson 16. Elite turn war and the structural violence and inequality and into opportunities and capital and government global inequality when presidency to billions of population top 1% more than the 92% of the capitalism tax and I find a particular outlets on the surplus and the lady is depressing and the commodification of the nature difficult to imagine a green political and a gentrification and the private violence and the green zones of political containment and the neo-fascist counter emerges of the military means of masculinization and racist mobilization against the scapegoats and no longer new territories into it with a military expansion with authority over the military accumulation making a board and it generate new opportunity. A global rebellion has spread and the survival might depend on it. And neoliberal ideology necessitates extinction from the finance valuation of the ecosphere, particularly in capital flow from governments to industries like the national insurance, or alternative is an enduring distribution of power, which includes refusing to circulate neoliberal ideology and negative and violent and hierarchical to constitute the political excuse. This is the only method to produce egalitarian, ecological, sustainable societies. The Marshall 16. The penetration of the neoliberal originality into the global space applications, spending the dominion like correspond with the logic of the capital and serving to transform find human and ecology values and economic values and entirely begin to respond. We must transferably connect the real points that was military and assault against the capitalism and the series of the inhibiting of the functioning with the subject energy that perpetuated to the system and the absence of politicization action will happen with the pay and the constitutive power succeeding creating the legal constitutional power later than the same and it exists after under the legal order constituted power must be neutralized and contained and this possibility to regulate and holistic social and ecological relation for exceeding what is practicable under the current destructive political order and off. The United States federal government ought to add the water arsenic levels in the Hopi reservation on ground that doing so is required to promote on general welfare. So is the case on CB alongside the legal precedent requiring the protection of future generation or got 10. Section of the Preamble war independently mentioned only 24 times and it doesn't have on the certainly preamble by any legal force with the historical evidence or textual explanation. U.S. preamble was a disaster for the Constitution and interpretation of courts rarely cited the preamble was the single most important part of the Constitution according to the preamble for the sake of the future generations and the yet to be born is the revised solution for the final explanation and the preamble. Extinction Jones 18. The global extinction notice of the central challenge for generational justice is in the structure of democracy versus the extinction of humanity and and emerging things of the bio and geoengineering and distributed manufacturing and the experience that makes such as a non-eligible the probability that catastrophic harm in the future generation are underrepresented in political structure to the political representatives and systematically negatively catastrophic generation transcend the political division and future people has no ways of this lack of incentive to mitigate and their need to include explicit governance structure for future generation has been routed. Without rolling the United States policy follows the United States trust obligation under winter, the United States federal government should ensure that the water arsenic levels and the RPA observation are compliant with the United States trust obligation under winters. The plan recognizes a legal duty with to provide a specific level of water quality. This causes a huge litigation by individuals who disagree with the plan's chosen protection level. The CB instead cleans the water as a matter of policy discretion, which flows without giving sand into use. And Urich 58. The right to water brought out by the messages between the capacity, the responsibility to actually implement the right to water is the top order. Human right to water must be implemented within the limits of the country and resources. There is no life switch that can be placed on any with make water available. Citizens myself may not have to gain access to the water in progress. Thus far, on the water might low hanging fruit in progress. On the remaining cases, it will be inevitably slower. And the right is treated as progressive realization countries will have that to be implemented immediately as they will be pursuing the implementation progressive realization. HRW with agreeing the individual to a specific right and country to embrace the right to water in the U.S. may have to do with a relative legitimacy in the society lawsuit based on the right and will lead to potentially constant and the constant litigation limited resources away from the achieving protocol and puts them in the courtroom. And the human right to water and just relies entirely on non-binding instruments of the top of water that triggers a wave of litigation that overwhelms the court. English 17. Water disagreement and further regulations throughout the water jurisprudence and the community interested in water disagree with the adversarial right and the copy as litigation and the hardening and the political aptitude regarding water quality and face up with the money litigation of course on the water issues with increasing frequency. Water litigation in Navy traces out with the judicial functioning in the other areas. 114. Litigation with the taste water completely would be unfair to expect the justice of the media with the water law to decide issues with the promptly and the delayed regards of the judicial practice to the faces the trial and the intended constitutional complexities of rights from the agency and group claims and water justification involves hundreds of parties and provide opinions and must produce a physical solution, and in the case load and fluctuation in water core will take considerable resources away from the matters. An efficient core review underpins made another innovation that sounds nuclear warning range is to 16. Greater cooperation can be achieved on emphasis and secondary investment globalization, extended towards in political imperatives, combat British interest, careful IP is internalized to remain in nuclear war and genocide, the disease and environmental changes and manipulation and robotic take, and there's a concurrence activity doing the innovation across the discipline and the IP laws and law include the service record litigation concerning probability and perceived weakening of the protection will have the unconsequence, and the impact of the strong stable IP cannot be overstated. Innovation is critical sustainability and commentary really upon the Germany and advocates and take one enhance the solution to conflict and around the globe, and the U.S. and from its leadership and taking advancement into so many problems dependent on strong state protection of IP rights and onto case circumvention. The USFG has literally some trust obligation with tribal treaty by favoring statutes over federal common law, Snyder 21. The government did not exercise any reinforceable trust in the treaty for La Marie and the reasserted the national and the federal trust doctrine of sources of covenant enforceability. The government not restricts any common law basis when trust doctrine of release in the cases of the nation, and the go to origination to assist of the trust doctrine requires about the corpus and the consequences of legal source exclusively assuming the definition of the fiduciary responsibility and should divorce the federal trust doctrine entirely from the some law origin and narrowing the scope of the trust doctrine. And the astronauts and the work engineering the Supreme Court increasing the understanding of trust doctrine and judicial enforceable rights and tribes under Supreme Court over the common laws of primary sources for the trust doctrine and Hobie advantage. So be salt, school salt, spending for the water infrastructure project and Hobie to reduce arsenic levels in water. Crow and James 21. So that I'm just legislation of money to build a new water infrastructure in the Indian country. The bill will provide $6.7 billion for water project. The amount of additional funding to date and the tribal or access to clean water right providers only people and why IHS of adjusting to water infrastructure for the institutional financial agencies to up on work and tribal as a change in Arizona, which represent the interests of 21 and 22 tribes in the United States and putting water and wastewater and infrastructure in the Indian country. Infrastructure bill also solves only 21. Triple to work on the infrastructure building towards the water sanitation needs one particular in the other 110,160 project on the water sanitation deficit. Other 2.5 billion will go to the fulfill trouble and health disparity and foster economic development and colonialism term. What are some other water symbols like colonialism, colonial 19? What are the limited of the water and the purpose of the reservation and colonialism turning on the law? Was not a recognition of the inherent rights of the court and Supreme Court to consider federal territory and spoke to the treaty not inherent right and meaningful manner. Members of the nation, such as the officer or water claims and intellectual construction and convert real estate under the history practice and cut the card here. Now we want to bad president. And then federal action and disagrees with the tribal sovereignty because it recognizes 0% of tribes into the program. Obviously, go through the policies for the environment, health, and 19. Environmental federalism limited federally organized and the tribes and only 570 eligible, leaving 200 out of the framework and now cut the card onto framing. And nuclear war extinction outweigh the utilitarian uses of workers on largest impact realm and barrier 18. And some kind of trivia obviously won't put in any other way nuclear winter human can go with things in almost 0 generation and 500 trillion to be under devastating catastrophe should be a safer person that youngest humans out of the class speak for the head respect of the member happily everyone qualities such as have ideologically prior framework and boost 14 global security because of framework on understanding of the all and global globalization of and for the freedom of the oppression and the civil some and the diminished prosperity of the flourishing lives and the greater condition of possibility. All right. Do you want me to send out a conversion and then we can start cross, or do you just want to start?
No, it's fine.
Before cross, I must have been booted off the email chain because I did not receive 1NC card. So if you could resend, I'd greatly appreciate. Thank you.
And
Okay,
I think while you're there, my partner isn't there either. So could you add her? Put the email in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Okay, sure. I'll send out right now. Yeah, it should be sent. And then it should be sent. Opponents, are we all good to start class?
Yeah, sure. 3 minutes starting now. Okay, so first on this Curly 19 card you guys read on the colonialism turn, isn't this a form of essentialism? Since you're referencing to a member of the Navajo tribe dictating what the Hopi tribe should be doing.
Wait, essential is what?
On the colonialism turn, Curly 19, the person writing is a member of the Navajo tribe, and Weaver Evans saying the Navajo are in conflict with the Hopi. So isn't this a form of essentialism when you think that all tribes have the same perspective on water issues?
No, it's not like essentialism, but then it's just like Under's winter, which is like your mechanism of the app.
Yeah, from a Navajo tribe who is in conflict with the Hopi. Okay, whatever. Moving on. On this fourth off, this without the legal duty, why should we do this? Why should we do it if the Hopi don't want to do it?
Do what?
Do the counterplan, the fourth off.
Like, first of all, if like
It's
again,
basically like the same plan. Like, what do you mean that Hopi doesn't want to do it?
The Hopi tribe doesn't want it to go through this process. So why should we do it?
Like, the Hopi want the plan to be enacted, and that's what
The Hopi want it to go to the Supreme Court. Does your plan go through the Supreme Court?
no, but our argument is
No.
like
Okay, so I got it. Doesn't Hopi don't want it?
That-
Cross off. Then on the third off, why should has this ever been set? Like has any case ever been voted for on the grounds of general welfare?
Can you repeat your question again?
On the third off, has any case ever been voted on on general welfare, on the grounds of general welfare?
You mean have any cases been passed?
Not total. We don't
Voted
have.
for? No? So why should we test the Hopi's case on something that has never been voted on? Isn't that a form of colonialism right there? Because now you're just like putting their case at jeopardy.
The Hopi. So that's why we're moving out of.
Yeah, so you're testing their case, and that's moving it to jeopardy, which is colonialist. Okay, now on the second off, how are we capitalist? We don't bring any private actors in, so
Because you failed to like recognize reasons for the water crisis in Hopi.
you're calling the Hopi capitalist because they want the plan to happen. You're blaming a tribe for being capitalist, correct or not?
No, we're not blaming the tribe. We're saying the act.
The AF is what the Hopi wants. So you're blaming like the tribes are capitalist, yes or no?
We aren't saying the tribes are capitalist.
Then who are you saying? So okay, fine. Then why are we capitalist?
You're capitalist because like you fail to recognize the reason like for like the root cause of the water crisis.
Okay, I'll tell you the root cause. It's arsenic naturally occurring. So now we're not capitalist, right? We acknowledge it. So are we capitalist now?
No, you're still.
Okay, so we're not capitalist. Thank you very much. That's correct.
I'll be taking prep. 8 minutes starts now. Stop prep. I'll type the remaining prep in the chat and I'll send out the 2AC. Okay, I just sent it out. My computer's really slow, so it might take a while. But I just sent it out. And the order is gonna be the case in the order of the neg, and then for the off it's T, core clog descent, cap K, the preamble counterplan, and the torch counterplan. Tell me when you guys receive the document.
My partner haven't got the document. Oh yeah, we got the document.
Okay. Is anyone already? Okay. Then my 8 minutes will start. Now starting with the case I was there. First we outward doesn't club first night. First 7K hope lives outward someone hope stand by make up first night. So that way the impact base of the hope actually wonder general top of policy making bigger perpetual colonial violence opposing us those best selection. So point B hope survivor framing is racist claims to say that government uses legitimate survivor framing to justify racism. Japanese term and proof. So point C worst case framing Skinner trend says that worst case framing leads to race to the bottom tool probability. High impact scenarios which are inaccurate actually increases the risk. And first, they said the USFG has historically circumvented the trust between tribe treaty, but the tribe is not specific to the Hopi. You're essentially for generalizing the tribes as one. Just because it has circumvented in the past doesn't mean it will circumvent specific to the Hopi. And they cross-apply essentialism that's Paradise 6 and Minute 613. Subpoint they're essentialist because they generalize natives of whole as one group and has the same belief. And subpoint B, this is false and only reinforces colonialism and trapping indigenous group in the past, which is the Boys 15 says that leads to Navajo and manipulating indigenous to steal kill the Hopi. They dropped this essentialist in their 1 and C, and their state of progress assume all tribes are always hurt by federal reform. No progress can be made. Granted, see that they ignore the fact that progress has been made for the Hopi. The federal trust publication and work for some tribes, and even if they're oh my god, that now to they said the status was solved, but no, it doesn't. When they said the Trump gave $5 million, it has no improvement towards the Hopi's water issues, and plus the infrastructure project won't give funds specific to the Hopi, and you have not one word in your evidence talking about how the bill will give funding specific to the Hopi. And again, this is being essentialist. And they said the Winters is being colonialist, and Winters not being colonialist, and they're never limiting anything. It's under the Winter Doctrine. And you said that we're only talking about the 0.1% of the tribe, but by solving for the Hopi, it's going to cause spill over solving for other tribes as well. And we're moving towards the right track. And now to off case. First, on the T, first we meet tribes are in the United States. That's NCI 20. There are 574 federally recognized nations in the U.S. and second counter-notation in the U.S. means under federal jurisdiction. That's DOJ 20. General laws in the U.S. is a crime committed and in place within the jurisdiction of the U.S. Indian country. And someone be tribes meet. That's per C1. Justice Marshall ruled that the tribes cannot convey aliens without consent of federal government. Tribes are domestic independent existing in state of polygynous nation, do not possess sovereignty within the graphical boundaries of the U.S. And third, Canada solves limits only in case to include tribe and fourth, education and becomes understanding that learning about tribe is essential to combat set call. And Okay, and now to court clocks. DA first, the decide starts and remain at 0%. We don't increase court clock. We give it 2,000 to hope one additional legal right out of the education, healthcare. What are your other rights they currently have? They can't win incredibly sorry how we cause the court system to shut down. And second court and heavily court clock because of structural problems, the backlog of thousands of cases from business and criminal law among U.S. citizens and states. A few Biden points on won't solve the dispute their impact because it hasn't already happened. And courts clocking, that's slide 21. Case backlog of the states and local courts across the U.S. increased about 1/3 mid COVID-19 pandemic, according to report released this month from Thomas Reuters. And average workload in U.S. courts before the COVID-19 pandemic was 958 cases, and the U.S. courts saw their case backlog increase more than 5% last year, and another 23% saw their backlog increase 1% to 5%. Report found alter operations and delay proceedings because the court closures as a result of pandemic contributed to increase the backlog, according to a report announced to Capgate. First, they conceded and crossed out we're anti-capitalist since we acknowledge why the problem arsenic is in the water, and first capitalist inevitable will fail for structural reform. That's what's 20. It's been a refugee capitalist that 8 million global pandemic yet stock market say boy and boys made billions are close for opening company. There's a joke about Marxist economists predicting 50 out of less future session theory about collision exhaustion converted finally cultural revolution and capitalism self-perpetuating repel internal action triumph the other way we're into what even has not eradicated altogether. The more deeply rooted capitalism is our ways of life more difficult will be ripped out and won't end anytime soon. And ending King Tocqueville and tension between nation and citizen income lights will heighten popular rates more likely when not than left, and then those who really wish to end capitalism are diluting the south that likelihood capitalism revolution is accepting capitalism here today doesn't mean giving up every step to address imbalances no matter how small it's important one. Secondly, turn substitution is anti-capitalism in 2018. Indigenous people are leading political movement of interest. These are ways that indigenous people are challenging global capitalism, standing and protect water from contamination. Indigenous people mapping the alternative capitalism and movement to critical radical reflection. And third, rap is not cap is not root cause. They're updating 3. Marxism is backward, the violent revolution to become breeding ground of poverty, disease, starvation, mass oppression, leading to future violence. And the root cause of humanity problems comes with individual greed. Class struggle does not address problems in nation engaged not because capitalism and more poverty, starvation, lack of rights or existence, and slavery for capitalism. And fourth, all failed without plan and blueprint. That's Lewis 92. Marxism is capitalism rejected in most Christian practice. Marxism value according to its never stationary critique of capitalism. We should examine each system in practice, and until Marxist divide blueprints, how socialism may be achieved, with force regards each division of finances, capitalism demonstrated in position of real social and environmental reform. And fifth, is the root cause of capitalism inequality. That's Blue 19. Economic equality reserved today didn't happen overnight. It's the path-dependent outcome. The most important European colonialism, discovery in American colonial and economic development, setting prerequisite industrial revolution, and colony ended up very distinct societies. And Latin America, South Asia created extractive institution, the very poor run. A long-run development outcomes in historic cellular mortality, indigenous population density, expanded 3% variation in the economic institution today, urbanization added 50% third income quality, and the world today can be explained by very impact in period colonial and different societies. Skip that card. And first, after the stop, Berkeley Fair said role playing Native policymakers, mainstream Native policy industry will change. Second, after always 7,000 hope our best in colonialism. Simply it's impossible way between our impact will after favorite change because of perception flip the K alts and the one will win with the artificial CP and put alts and non preamble CP. First point both, second point CP, third sovereignty. First one is key. Our sovereignty evidence that the destruction of water body of president necessary and federal implementation, creating any legal remedy won't solve. That comes from the 3 L's mind. Second, general welfare. They rule on general welfare grounds. Oppose Hopi with the entire US and the rules under general welfare are essential. Framing proves that the Gates coup was settled rule against the Hopi future issues support larger tribes on or the Hopi should ever roll back during the implementation. Third standpoint, we're the only ones who have to re-evidence the Hopi tribes under mechanism. Then court ruling on the winter ground. They know what Hopi one picks some revenue never tried before considered pipe dream guaranteed cooption. Hopi don't want it. And fourth, no self advocate, they don't have a current their legal remedy, no hope even native plans unpredictable, unfair. And fifth, their narrative is a joke, ruling on preamble model and change American minds, empty words, quote unquote, won't spoil for to Bush or other constitutions. It's actually affecting polarization. This isn't going to make everyone believe in civic education and solve. And second, controversy and it doesn't impact legitimacy. That's Macy 15. Supreme Court with it supporting for 48%, 3 decades low, and it being lighting road to benefiting 360 years, 26 years, benefiting many jars locked down, and right to marry, Affordable Care Act, Voting Rights Act, Citizen Act to keep citizen legitimacy overthrown. Justices are more unanimous option of 5-4 decision, and when justices agreed to really spread the ideology line, 66 cases, it's not only 5 split along left right fault line And neither ideology partition plays a decisive role in justice ruling. Another big years underway. Justice will soon take up involving Geneva criminal justice, voting public union, affirmative action, religious liberty, abortion. No matter how way these ruling do won't evidence in court gone wrong. Not to towards CP from Pernduto, second Pernduto, CP third no sovereignty constitutionalism. Our intentional mechanism is ever court ruling and constitutional ground being a key to grant compliance. They don't have any cards to say the torts will be enough. And second be for immunity excellency towards only work between true parties. The government has sovereignty immunity. So when Hopi sued the EPA for torts interference and the court ruling against Hopi unlocking jurisdiction to solve and see don't solve only after we can legal remedy is Congress with which means all our Congress answer and 70 Hopi Stand we're the only one who have read evidence in a Hopi tribe wanting our mechanism and mark the card mechanism and fourth no self the advocate don't have a card mentioning legal remedy and hope you are even natives and prove our kind of is unpredictable and unfair and fifth no internal link create a new one toward for one just one hope he doesn't spell to other towards a model worldwide. This argument starts with 0% natives issues will distinguish not spill over to other areas and okay that's time. Do you guys want to mark copy?
Yeah, we'll start cross after that. Yo,
I just sent out the mark copy. So we can start cross when you received it.
Give me a second to open it up. I'll start cross now. So first of all, is there any theoretical arguments to reject the team?
Condo.
Okay. And on the preamble grounds, like can you explain how the perm will work? Like what will happen in the vote of the perm?
So we're saying that we can do the counter plan and the plan at the same time. Since so by doing the counter plan,
actually I'll move on. For like why is winter specifically key? Like why is it like better than preamble grounds?
Because it's specific to the Hopi, it's the trust doctrine. It's like the body of precedent necessary to ensure the federal implementation.
Okay, and for your onto the court clog, like what are reasons that clogs the court? Is it like COVID and other like cases?
Yeah, so there's so yeah, one of the reasons that we provided is COVID-19, and then and we also said that there's like other reasons like structural problems, and yeah, so we talked about how the courts are inevitably clogged from like thousands of cases, and yeah.
Like it's about criminal law. Like why is this specifically to like civil law?
It's just like example. It doesn't.
Oh, okay, sure. And for cap, like how would the perm work?
The cap K. So we're saying that you can do the plan and the K at the same time.
Since you're both anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And on the, I guess I'll go on T. Like, why is the stay in the progress in like your grand 4? Like, can you explain on that card?
Grand 4 under topicality.
Yeah.
Where's your grand 4 card?
Like in the blog it says like grand 4 says is actually never mind. I'll move on to the T in the US. So your counter is basically saying that under the federal jurisdiction.
Yeah, so we're saying that in the US we're under the federal jurisdiction because like the EPA is now is providing the water to the Hopi. So that means that Hopi is part of the US public lands.
Okay, so Like why is fx topicality inevitable? Like there are literally
Oh,
like
we didn't talk about.
tons of
I didn't talk about
like
that.
not fx topicality.
I
What?
didn't talk about that. I just skipped that.
Okay. On the cap for the essentialism thing, like on the cleaver card, like
Oh, I
why
also
does
don't.
it?
I also didn't
Oh,
read because it's a yeah.
all right. Well, run prep.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom, so just make sure you don't start without me.
We stopped for about 4:55. My partner's gonna send out the doc.
I don't have 4 minutes 55 seconds for you, rather 2 minutes 40 seconds for your prep.
Like we used or we have left.
Oh wait, sorry. I typed it wrong. It's 4:55 used. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then it's like we still have 305.
Okay, that's fine. But not a big video, but just making sure.
The jaw received.
I got it.
Wait a sec, let me set up my timer. Then could you?
What's your
Wait, what?
what's your
Oh yeah. The order is gonna be the K, and then the trust pick, and then the litigation dissad, and then framing, and then case in the order of the 2IC. Okay, so is anyone not ready now? The timer. Okay. First on the can consider to a perm, we're not going for it. That on the trust pick, answer to a perm term to the perm link to the benefit recognizing a legal duty causes massive litigation, you cause the individual to sue and ratify like clean water progressive realization of the right to voice this to ensuring clean water, but not giving people the ability to sue water lawsuits would be extensive costly a contest because each incident of lack of current access to incredibly low to provide suits are inevitable standards of care under windows cannot be met instantly. There's no life with lectures that magnify provides the infrastructure that emulates pollution and creates access that guarantees long-term and large amounts of certified to rectify the each individual instead of water access to weapons lawsuits by anyone thinks government isn't fulfilling duties well enough. Rights recognition only readdresses to litigation clock tends to case because slow implementation target 18. The use of human right to water, people mobilizing around the legal protection of right to water will be more within the human rights approach will require a state to prevent the damage to the account for providing addresses the most likely way to issuing the readdress to class action lawsuits. Rights granted legal standing all causes proliferation of lawsuits when under my rights enforcement and counterbalance comparatively prevail with distinct options scores 0-0. And the first is individual rights to assert a claim in the state that has the obligation to respond. That doesn't claim more than claim is more duty than more difficult. More difficult, told to state how meeting them and ability to claims that will make rights and list of claims by frivolous the state of individual to ignore them rewarding rights protection and enforcement proliferation of new rights would contribute to serious devaluation of human rights and the risk of overall coverage by existing rights. The answer to firm due to cannibal and severance. The cannibal does not recognize the federal duty to clean arsenic from water. Such assurance outcomes to durable via severance is a voter have moving target and next strategy. Also, the counterplan solves the AV and avoids litigation, ensures water quality on the Hopi reservation and meets the same level as the AV. The plan has two parts. Part one expands the trust obligation. Part two cleans the water. Their only advantages are about part two, cleaning the water. The CP does part two without expanding the trust obligation in order to avoid litigation. Then on the solvency, the CP solves and its competitive progressive realization avoids litigation, but still ensures access to water. Burden 15, right to water multitude of individuals in Asia, claiming constitutional protection in Africa and America's governments ensure the water domestic courts competitive progressive realization only making individual litigation difficult in Europe. Individuals claim private life there exists mechanisms on the basis of legal non-body and unenforceable recommendations to work on recommendations to resolve water complaints. Progressive realization making litigation difficult is not to imply state obligation to provide access to water will make the aspiration to governments develop progressive and provide water a reasonable cost. And the legal process is slow and burdensome. Each ruling beneath the right to approach and sue variations in decision across the courts. AC 16. I'll just read the underlined part. The right to water resources legal process along areas of movements are not always successful. The possible right to consider as very interpretation. Application by the state. This makes all of us a formal project implementing the right to depend on how the court draw on law and study that officials have to bring out cases in their country. Implementation is further complicated by the lack of data implementation and situation barriers to delivering the right to collection data and obscuring the state role, creating disparate systems to services delivery. Then on the solvency litigation terms, ensuring access to water solves every internal link if you have the same government actions. Collateral results by eliminating slow draining the litigation in term the hinders mobilization of new infrastructural development, each leads the litigation to sad independent solvency deficits to a plan because it causes massive delays. Implementation only provides clean water fast. And also, each delay wrecks the signal of the plan internationally, and not only eventually will be destroyed under the sole litigants strategy require each individual to seek legal readdresses rather than directly proving water to people. Then, under the litigation, decide outweighs the magnitude strong USIP self-nuclear war innovation for patents is key to global cooperation and foster solutions to the root cause of political conflicts. Every hotspot, the impact is extinction plus their external impact. They drop extinction inevitable because of genetic manipulation, robotic tech, eco collapse, internal side, solid efficient. That's all, and that's Randall in turns case the incentivized innovation for climate change and technologies and litigation that stops even from creating climate change policies since they can apply for patents. Also hurts the Hopi. A patent review is streamlined but resource intensive, requires continued efficiency and sustained innovation. Efficient patent review is critical to investor confidence that underpins innovation. Under you think which was their only answer. The litigation is controlled Hopi 21. While scientific oriented directly different by probably little resource spaces litigation rooted themselves in national psyche. New appointments are clearing the backlog order for the aid by to move quickly to field judicial vaccines and state that move to the law court nominees. The administration is looking to return new judicial nominees. The list very few weeks go have selection pipeline fulfill each hearing. The work through the backlog proceeding are smooth of us through 21 COVID slam breaks in persons trials 50,000 in 2021. The raffle plea bargains and limited activity reduced the number. This does approve their entire uniqueness answer is wrong because we're saying that COVID, we agree that the COVID slammed the brakes on in person trial, but this card our card from 2021 just shows how in the second half of 2021 raffle plea bargains and limited activity reduced that number, which means that there's no court clock now. And also civil cases are different from criminal cases, which means that those uniqueness answers don't apply. And link was completely dropped. Land causes litigation because it's under the trust obligation, which they consider that it means that natives will go to the court and clog it because the U.S. can't ignore it because it's a legal duty to do so under trust obligations. And trust obligations open the floodgates for litigation over any potential environmental harm. Currently 97. The court agrees that the water political trust resources with applications and trust doctrines that floodgates will be open to challenges of field activities. Environmentalists oppose one doctrine of applicants empirically cause litigation acts affecting on state rights, control authority, enable water rights, and legal cause on way at 17. Water agencies filed intellectually appeal winters. Water agencies petition for a right of category argued court should narrowly constitute a right because it's conflict with Congress policy. 10 states filed a brief in support of petition in court review questions to representative petitions after further litigation to find scope of federal water rights. All competition anticipate tribes many to government rights and negotiations which agencies of future litigation explore whether rights protected water agencies may file now petitions in Supreme Court to go over appeal ruling affecting ongoing litigation. Lawsuits claiming federal reserve rights could arise. Then on to the framing debate. Extinction first magnitude outweighs probability because reducing that risk by just 1% save trillions. In the debate is again the CB solves the case. That means that you should consider our extinction impacts since we solve the apps too. If we went on the counterplan, and we should prioritize essential risks because without solving nuclear risks, that means that we can't solve for environmental issues that the app wants to solve for Hopi, and external risks are ignored. Quiz 19. Psychological and for us to ignore the risk of availability influenced by what it feels visible external risk. No availability on real even statistics tell us otherwise. Affect make decisions on how we feel rather than through reason. Human beings are terrible in evaluating existential risk privileges and memories over numbers. We feel more empathy to one person than a group, even though we should care about it multiple people. This is called effective number ability for a literal large empathy road death toll grow pronounced to future lives, and you should. Our opponents also want to save more lives in their speech. Literally said that solving for Hopi alone spells over, which means that they're also prioritizing to util, which is save for more lives. So which means that you should buy our framing then. Moving on to the case debate. First, we're saying that there's circumvention because the USFG have historically circumvented the trust obligation with tribal treaty by favoring statutes over federal law, which means that the plan is also going to be circumvented. The government also denied existence of any affordable trust due of the treaty for Lorraine case, which just shows how the government isn't gonna enforce it. They said we didn't give evidence, but this is the evidence. And also we're saying that schools because by the funded water infrastructure process is hoping to reduce arsenic levels in water, and that's our Coral and James 2021 card. They did nothing to disprove this, which means that the app is already solved. Okay. I'm open for call.
Okay. Three minutes starts now. First on your framing, you said that you should prioritize extinction, which hasn't even happened yet. Then to care about will be that severing the status quo. Is that right?
Wait, you kind of lagged out.
Am I muted?
Yeah, could you say this stuff again?
Oh, so on your framing, are extinction then Hopi suffering the status quo, right?
We're saying that extinction would happen if the plan passes. So if you're making that argument, it means that the DAs are always being underestimated and debate because our side always takes like existential risk, and it's improbable since like the DA is always being downplayed. If you're trying to like argue
on your
low problem
litigation link, how do we drop your link when we specifically said that Hopi's only like few thousand people adding legal rights, so it doesn't court clog. It's like, how do we drop your link?
You're not denying like the link is true there. You're just saying that there's only 7,000 people, but the fact that you're using trust obligations, which means that like if all those so you're saying that it's only 7,000, but if the court can't handle 7,000 Hopi going to court like every day, and like you said, there's gonna be spillover, which means that other tribes are also gonna go sitting because the government put out trust obligations, which means that like they're obligated to do it. So all the tribes can just go into court and stand there. It doesn't mean that they have to like go and sue. It just means that they can go to court and clog it because it's the government's like obligation to like respond to them.
Okay. Yes. On your trust pick, can you explain why the perm links to net benefit?
The perm links because you're including trust obligations. Like how like
The counterplan doesn't include the trust obligation.
Yeah.
It's like policy R.
Yeah, because you're saying like the Hopi want to do it.
Yeah, they want to do it. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, so you're gonna include trust obligations, which links to the this. She asked why this perm links link to the net benefit, and that was my answer.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. There's only 10 seconds left. So.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna sound the doc now. It's gonna be the permeable grounds pick, and then condo, and then I'll go on some case. And I'm gonna sound the doc right now.
Just get the order again.
Oh, okay. Can I sound? Oh, it's basically going to be the permeable grounds pick, and then condo, and then I'll go on case. And then the doc should be. The doc is sent. Tell me when you're ready.
I got it.
Judges, are you all good? Okay.
What's the order?
Permeable grounds pick, and then condo, and then I'll go on to case. Everyone's all good with the order, right? Okay, then I'll start. First on the overview, the counterparts holds the Athens makes the same holding out to pump up the soil on the ground, so it's mandated or the renewables general welfare that causes the instead of the winters. They're planning to specify the ground on the after also on the counterpart as a pick out of that. This is only sufficient for any issue. The entire 1AC is selling the latest year has its sole determination that the app is possible under the winter. Now that is the key. They've also only highlighted the words winter twice in the entire 1AC, which means that you should be very skeptical whether any 1AR spin and framing it doesn't matter since the counterparts holds the Athens something the framing is try or die and not constitute the net benefit. And for the impact ruling on a premium ball and the senator alone prevents the discounting future generation by reducing binding and requirement to consider interest on posterity as organ. And posterity always and discounting and it causes unpredictable crises that these it causes extinction and climate change and emerging techniques and there's bioengineering, the sort of manufacturing AI and nuclear crisis emerge in along any ways that's Jones. And then a turns case, framing is revealed and their authors also assume the scenario confirm a high probability and predictability that's our impact in species wide scenario that's Jones. And two, the impact in hobby and genocide and water quality and pollution as they poisoning and for water infrastructure are all magnified in type of nuclear war, radiation warming also during the war resource in Russia. The government doesn't care about hobby, the treatment is worse without the counterplan. Emerging tech is dangerous because the counterplan provides proper guardrails knowledge to be accessible, increasing the living quality of the natives. And therefore AI preserving future generations are key always everything, classroom routine. The mindstream is part of modern AI with trillions of conscious and simulation understanding human psychology, more information, all uses causes will be distorted and outcome like genocide more problematic and the number of victims the order of magnitude larger than any genocide and unchanged from Dubol. From Dubol fails, the links to the benefit we impact on the president and perm includes the original reasoning or its severance and doesn't solve the president emphasis of perm continues to extend tradition of the rhetorical and the auditory unit of references only the CP alone makes it so this is a factor that's organ and threshold low and preamble must be the source of the law and any of the alternative legal sources of creation for a preamble citation of Frostiny of 17. The scholars are divided into preambles and interpretations. The topic that the preamble can be the source of law. In fact, the preamble is used to the rule of the courts of the source of law. You should rely on the preamble interpretation of the Constitution. B. Clarity doctrine and clarity doctrine. Other grounds will be used whenever available because they are less ambiguous and then the for me 13. Aspiration of the ambiguous and preamble comes support both sides and any issue of preamble has been in the decisive and in constitutional interpretation because the Bill of Rights have been greater and more legitimate and scope for broader interpretation. So there's no perceived need for use of preamble. Well, and see, Comdo is dicta, not binding. Bill 12. Preambles are not binding. The legal and the dicta. The opinion argument position has other legal support. History proves it's not essential to the outcome of the case and citation of preamble law ignore. And there are actually preamble cases that has been passed. It's not just like based on theory and motion. Hilbrand 17. And the Supreme Court regulated the preamble to the minor and social rules preamble to equivalent to the case in bar language as seen as the dicta and the institution was based on the argument consideration materials holding and consolidated dicta and outcome to the counterpart. And severs for a few reasons textually the counterpart doesn't say when there is out instead of should and text complex the best of force legal applying writing and most object and avoids worse CPs and ground app makes a winter ruling the CPs are on the preamble they do. There are different trust obligations. The plan only specifies the ruling and CP doesn't do other supporting issue. The basis for the plan's ruling is a critical component for the island striking ethics, the background and education. Girl 5. The precedent is a ruling of a particular case and whatever large is converted with a legal question. The first one is precedent is not a single case with the or has failed to cite at least a single precedent as source of authority. Just as it cannot make a decision without coordinating with others precedent and precedent serves as a for understanding and to show decision marking and 3 normal means. And cornerstone will run a premium around that's organ and normal means is a chain of infinite regression and surely and CX enter. If there's a confidence legit proves that the single ruling cause of the action and literature out to solvency natives. And so it's even a premium will create a responsibility for the former the federal government to promote the general welfare. Healthcare is the right which has been always been the middle government more than the place of the right and the defense of the right and people rights are being violated and winter is key. There's no warrant for what winter is key and framing there's no wonderful viable impact into the EU while the plan will fail and without winter is the scenario you should hold the 1AR2 and highlighting the 1AR I've highlighted the winter twice in the contrived sentence without giving a reason why it's key. That's all get versus the pig and the nuts. I'll go through the evidence only hard in one see so that the federal circuit says that winter doesn't get the US responsibility over water, which I actually disproves the US having trust obligation under winter. And Hopi tribe says that the Hopi tribe argued winter gave Hopi the right to water, and isn't winter key for Hopi tribe to get better water is only possible through the winters too. And the counterpart identity solves it because it Hobo's healthier and it rights for Hopi tribe and to sell better and cut the car here and skip to condo. Interpretation allows conditional advocacy for reserving the right to voice if and the satisfactory reason to prefer best policy option. Only real policy ever forced to choose between the only two policy options. Critical thinking, conditional thinking forces the one to weigh different strategy option the top two various strategies also reciprocity. The Afghans proposals change to be able to plan Afghans from people the next should retain the right to the status quo and do nothing and predictability is the right to the negative end. Afghan doesn't have a right to predictable next strategies is literally the goal of the next challenge. The Afghan surprising strategy and also links to next flag. This topic is awful. This topic is awful and doesn't have a known unifying Negro policy. Afghans first and second speech and infinite and conditional advocacy is the key to Negro. And on the case, like we literally said that how like there's colonialism term and also like there's bad president and how like the federal federal action inherently disagrees with the tribal sovereignty because it only recognizes 0.1%, so it's not going to solve as much as like the 1AC claims to, and that's time.
I'll take prep starting now. Okay, stop prep there. That is 340 remaining for the F. The order is going to be the case, then case framing, preamble, litigation, pick. I can repeat that. Case framing, preamble, litigation, pick. Is anyone not ready?
One sec.
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't really hear it.
Yeah, case framing, preamble, litigation, decide, and then the pick. Okay, then 5 minutes starting now. First on case day, they cleanly drop our solvency warranty, meaning that means that you can cleanly extend that our ruling on the Winters doctrine solves for the 7K Hopi suffering. They give you a couple of arguments to this. One, circumvention. First, no, the Supreme Court, we feel the Supreme Court will force the EPA to give 15 million of additional funding and help with the facility to clean the arsenic. Two, that is essentialist. That card details all native issues as one, not specifically the Hopi, which means that they think all native issue is one, and that allows that call to continue because now they're creating violence and they're refusing the Hopi's viewpoint in the world. Then on framing, a key issue there, they don't clash with our Hopi first or essentialism argument, just saying extinction first. No, because first it's low probability. So Callahan 73 and Trainer 10 said that this leads to a race to the bottom to high impact low probability scenarios that are actually inaccurate and increased risk. In China and Callahan 73 says this causes racism as proved by the South Africa apartheid and Japanese internment camps. Their framing of the debate allows racism and psychology to continue in this round means you auto vote it. They don't find any clash. Then on the preamble plan. First, expand our solvency thing. They say that it will get coup up. Yeah, first we tell you that that general welfare, their method of helping the Hopi actually gets co-opted by settlers because that preamble from the Constitution is in context of both settlers and natives. This means that there's gonna be tension and it's hard to rule. Then second, their Psalm 109 card isn't from the Hopi, it's rather some person sitting in the middle of Kansas writing the speech. It's not what the Hopi want. It means you automatically discard it. It's not this person not an expert on native issues. And he's not even a Hopi, means that he's allowing cycle to continue. Then again, they completely drop our Maisie 15 card because controversies and it's inevitable under this general welfare since it's so vague and because the Hopi don't want it. Then on litigation, first extend. We don't increase litigation. We're a small case. They think every Hopi will sue the federal government. That's not how it works. The Hopi tribe in itself is suing the federal government. Individual tribes can't. One court case. If they see that one court case clog the entire system, then like it's a failure system, not us. Then two, they say that we take that it's inevitable, like their appointments won't solve, like their appointments won't solve because the court cases stay the same, just the judge added to the panel. Then three, extend more in 21. We take that the courts are clogged right now due to COVID-19. First, their Adler 4A card doesn't say clearing backlog, and if so, it's the Senate's backlog of cases. Then their Zavala 21 card has no uniqueness since appointments that don't solve. It doesn't ever mention it. Then their Pope card isn't in the context of litigation, rather some other law procedure. Then their Wyatt is not in the context of winters. It's different RTO issues, which means that again you can reject it. Then on framing we saw then again all the evidence is not specific to the Hopi. We read this in the 2AC, and the perfect no clash to it means that the evidence can't be connected to the Hopi. Then they say that the system can't handle a court case. Well, that's any court case from a tribe. First of all, that's essentialist because you're viewing all tribes as one. They're like Winters. They're like a generic trust doctrine is the context of everyone having the same views, everyone dressing the same, everyone in the same culture. And like we read in the 1AC, this is what causes like the distancing natives from the new culture. Then on the pick, extend perm to both. You can have the federal government argue like without acknowledging violation and acknowledging the violation in a different system. It's two different systems. They want the pick happens like in the in the judicial in the legislative branch, while we have it in the judicial branch. There's like you can have both happen. Then they say that extend Hopi standpoint. The Hopi don't want it, which is the biggest thing that's around. The Hopi have been marginalized for so long, which means that you have to look at through their perspective. Any other form of perspective is racist, and it allows the continuation of settled colonialism because you're not allowing them into the culture and you're not allowing them to solve their problem the way they want to do it. That's time. Vote AF. Save Hopi. Save prevent essentialism. That's time.
We'll run prep starting now.
I'm gonna get water. Wait till I'm back.
My computer sent me a bit of a graph, which I'm going to back.
Wait, George, what did you say?
My computer sent me a bit of a graph, which I'm just going to restart.
Okay.
Time is up, and I'm not gonna send out any cards. And the order is gonna be the preamble, ground pick, and then the trust pick, and then litigation disad, and then framing. Is anyone not ready?
Wait, can you say that one more time?
Oh, okay. So the order is gonna be the preamble, grounds pick, and then trust pick, and then the litigation disad, and then framing. Is anyone not ready? Okay. First on the preamble, grounds pick considered to the permit justice test competition. We're not going for that. Then under the trust pick, the counterplan solves the app and voids the litigation. It ensures water quality on the Hopi reservation and meets the same levels as the app. The plan has two parts. Like you said, part one was to expand the trust obligation, and part two cleans the water. And they're all of their advantages and case talks about part two, which was cleaning the water. So the CP does part two without expanding the trust obligation. They said the perm still exists because somehow the government are still gonna do it in two systems without violating a thing that they made up, but it still doesn't answer trust obligations, and they don't say what the other system is. So you inherently can the perm inherently doesn't work because you still link to the benefit, because you still need to include trust obligations if you have to do the app. Recognizing illegal duty causes massive litigation and causes individuals to sue and ratify lack of clean water, and progressive realization of rights avoids this through ensuring clean water but not giving people the ability to sue. And also water lawsuits could be extensive, costly, and constant because each incentive lack of current access takes incredibly long to provide. And also suits are inevitable. Standards are here under winters and cannot be met instantly, and there's no light switch that magically provides infrastructure that eliminates pollution and creates access. This guarantees long-term and large amounts of suits to rectify each individual instance of water access, as well as lawsuits by anyone who thinks the government isn't fulfilling duties well enough. And also right of recognition only readjusts through litigation, and clogs also turns the case because it slows their implementation. And on to solvency, the CP solves and it's very competitive because the progressive realization avoids litigation but still ensures the access to water. The solvency part was completely dropped, which means that the counterplan solves the case and can be acted as offense because legal processes is slow and burdensome, and each ruling muddies the right to approach through variations and decisions across the courts. And we gave two terms. First, ensures access to water solves their internal link because it fiats the same government actions to the plan results, but eliminates slow draining litigation to the intern that hinders mobilization and new infrastructural developments. And each link to litigation decides independent solvency deficit to the plan because it causes massive delays and implementation. And each delay wrecks signal to the plan internationally. And also, since we solve for the case 100%, any risk of the disad means that you vote neg. Then under the litigation disad. First, disad outweighs because magnitude. Strong US IP solve nuclear innovation-driven patents is key to global cooperation and fosters solution to root causes of political conflicts. And plus, the external impact drops throughout the internal debate. Genetic manipulation, robotic tech, equal causes and genocide, which leads to extinction. Each impact leads to extinction. They drop Turns case, which means that we also access their impacts. The incentivizes innovation for climate change technologies. And litigation also stops people from creating climate change policies since they can't apply for patents, and that also hurts Hopi. And patent review is streamlined but resource intensive, requires continued efficiency to sustain innovation. And efficient patent review is critical to investor confidence that underpins innovation. I guess their only two answers was link and was one statement on link and uniqueness. I'm gonna answer uniqueness first. First, we gave three cards saying how litigation is controlled right now, and their answer was how COVID is still gonna cause it, but that's also already answered. Extended Article 321 card, which is more recent. It shows that COVID, their claim, which was that COVID slammed the brakes on in-person trials. That was true, but in the second half of 2021, the wrath of clear bargains and limited activity reduced that number, which means that their claim on UQ is completely false. And also, link, the plan causes the litigation because under the trust obligation, which the conceders, that means natives will go to the court clock because the US can't ignore it. And it's their legal duty to do so. And trust obligations open the floodgates litigation over any potential environmental harm. And where they say that, 7,000 Hopi isn't going to do anything. It's just going to be one suit. but the fact that they said is sue means that they misunderstood the argument. We're saying that the Hopi, they can just go to the court. They don't necessarily have to sue. They can just go to the court and request the government to respond because they're obligated to due to the trust obligations in the plan. So the litigation decided what happened. Then moving on to the framing. First, extinction first 93 hours probability because reducing that risk by just 1% say truly is. And also debate is a game. I said this literally in the 2NC. If the CP solves the case, that means that you should consider our extinction impact since we solved the ask to this has dropped, which means that as long as the CP solves the case, framing doesn't matter. And we should prioritize extinction risk because without solving nuclear risk, that means that we can't solve for environmental issues that Alf wants to solve for Hopi. We're saying that extinction risks are ignored, and since the AF also solved the case, we're also doing we're also helping Hopi from their standpoint, and also YouTube is good because it saves the greatest amount of people, which means that we are preventing the most amount of torture, and this is technically ethical. Okay.
Karen, you prep.
You will be taking the prep starting Okay, that's time. So the order is just gonna be the case in the framing, and then it's gonna be the preamble counterplan, the dissent, and the pick. Is anyone already? Okay. Then my time will start. Now, first, we completely went on case the entire debate because we saw for the Hopi issue. Wow, you don't, because your essential judge, they completely drop our essential argument throughout the entire debate. Therefore, they couldn't solve any of the Hopi's issue because they don't, because they are generally generalizing tribes as one single thing, and so Hopi will continue to suffer under their CP and decide. And this is a voting issue because when you're essentially you're promoting this bad mindset, generalizing tribes as one single thing. There's no way that they could suffer Hopi's water arsenic issues because none of their cards are specific to the Hopi. And so therefore only under the court ruling can suffer the Hopi. And we're also standing under the Hopi standpoint, which they also dropped. And they're essentially because they generalize tribes as one group and has the same belief and extend our essentials. This is false because only reinforces colonialism by trapping indigenous people in the past, which the boys 15 says that leave Navajo manipulate indigenous, steal and kill the Hopi. And okay, and now extend we outweigh that's Michael Ferris supporting colonial violence, they suffer vast or hungry genocide and slave removal, nation racism, criminalization, and common poverty. And someone be Hopi standpoint weigh the impact based on what the Hopi are drug normal top of policy making because perpetuate colonial violence by imposing settlement logic that dropped this argument, which means that all their impacts should be based on what the Hopi want. And supposedly smorology and colonialism interrelated this to claim to evidence and objectivity are flawed and perpetual colonialism. And so when the survivor framing is racist, claims to reduce the government uses legitimate survivor framing just by racism and Japanese term and be approved. And so when the worst case framing senior and worst case framing lead to race alarms low probability, high impact scenario which are inaccurate actually increases the risk. They also drop this framing issue, which means that all their impact goes out the window because it's actually only their worst case framing impacts only increases risks and are inaccurate. And now onto the preamble counterplan. First on the solvency, their cards specifically talk about general welfare, which get Koopa settles and context, and their cards specifically talk about general welfare, which is our essential framing. By saying in general welfare, it doesn't they're generalizing tribes as one single thing. And this proves that it gets Kupai settles to rule against the Hopi and future issues to support larger tribes or the EPA and ensures inevitable rollback during implementation. And extend our winter is key. Our sovereignty evidence that only the trust adoption has the body of precedent necessary to ensure federal implementation. And extend our standpoint, we're the only ones we have read the evidence Hopi tribe wanting our mechanism. They read none of the evidence specific to the Hopi, which is ruling on winter ground. They ignore what the Hopi want and pick some brand new never tribe over constitutional by dream. This guarantees inclusion, and the Hopi don't want it. And therefore they lose on CP because they don't care what the Hopi want. And third, no solvency extend no solvency advocate. They have not a card mentioned their legal remedy or the Hopi or even the native proof their counterpart is unpredictable and unfair. And their net benefit is a joke, and ruling on preamble won't model and change American minds. It's just empty words. One core ruling won't spill over to Bush or Gore other considered decisions that will actually affect. So announce legislation. DA extend we don't increase litigation. Hopi tribe is suing the government in one court case will not clog the entire system. There are only 7,000. There's such a small tribe. One court case about like giving money to won't clock the entire system or else it's a failure system. It's not our fault. And court clock is inevitable. Permits don't stop. Courts will stay the same. And court clogged were clogged right now. That's because of COVID-19 and COVID. It's still happening right now, which means that courts are still clogged. And they said that you can just go to the courts. You can't do that if you think it's that easy. Then the plan would have been passed now. And DA starts to remain at 0%. We don't increase court call. We give few thousand Hopi one additional legal right out of education, healthcare, water, and other rights they currently have. They can't win a story about how we caused the Hort system to shut down. And courts and every clogged announced the pick. first exam permit both. You can have the federal government arguing, acknowledging violation, a different system pick can happen because they're using the legislative branch while we're using judicial branch, so it can happen at the same time. And insolvency, Senator Hopi standpoint, we're the only one who had read the evidence. Hopi wanting our mechanism still prefer our card because they don't have any cards specific to Hopi. And the next CB creates a brand new remedy which had never tried before, which guarantee corruption, and that the Hopi doesn't even want. All their impact should be based on Hopi standpoint. So Judge, we want a case because they're essentials. Thank you.
Good debate, and thank you for judging us, judges.
Good debate, and yeah, thank you for judging
Yeah,
us.
good debate.
All right, rolling. Last judgment. So all announced decision. Everyone's here.
Yeah, we're all here.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, cool. So congratulations to both teams making it to semifinals. The decision is a 2-1 for the affirmative.
Bro.
And I'll go first since I sat. So I'm the judge that voted negative. I voted neg because I think that the counterplan can provide the Hopi people with clean water without invoking a trust obligation under the Winters Doctrine, which avoids kind of the unnecessary litigation, which clogs courts. Like on the trust pick, going for like framework plus natives like might not want the counterplan, right? But my problem with that is that like the AF cards aren't saying like natives only want the Winters Doctrine. They're just kind of saying that they think the Winters Doctrine should mandate the government cleans like arsenic in their water. I don't see why this disproves that the counterplan, which just cleans the arsenic in the water, is necessarily unwanted. Regardless, I don't get like much warrants on like this essentialism stuff or like or much explanation for why really like natives don't want the counterplan beyond just the assertion that like we're the only ones who have stuff that says natives want this, or like the Hopi wants this. But I don't think like that necessarily disproves, especially since the pick is like so similar to the plans action, why we can't just why the counterplan can't just clean the water directly. Again, like I mentioned the essentialism argument. It's not really made on the pick flow, and regardless, I don't really think it applies here because the counterplan is still implementing like the Hopi solutions to the problem, just without invoking the trust doctrine again. The neg wins a risk of litigation DA also because they do have a specific link to the federal trust for the Hopi under the Winter Doctrine. The AF just says it's one suit, but like the neg's kind of winning that. It would involve multiple suits because of disagreements with the merits of the ruling and also uniqueness question. The AF said COVID dumps. That's like the only thing, but the neg has much more recent evidence that assumes COVID and says like the court is stable now because appointments are coming. So I feel pretty comfortable. And also like the neg does make the argument that if they're winning a risk the counterplan like it solves, then framing is less important because they like have the ability to remedy some of the harms. So I see all that. I think there is a risk of litigation disad, so I end up voting negative. That's the thesis of my decision. Y'all can take it from here.
I can go next. So I agree with like parts of that RFD. I think that I very narrowly voted AF. This debate was like really, really frustrating and messy to evaluate. Like, not gonna lie, like both sides do like very little judge instruction like at all and kind of just like say things, which leads me to have to connect the dots. But ultimately, I think the problem with the 2NR is that it doesn't engage with like any of the framing arguments, which like are set up from the 2AC to implicate counterplan solvency all the way. So if there is no ruling and the framing arguments are true that the US is like a settler state, then like I don't understand like how compliance would be like completely mandated. And I think that there's like some like maybe there could be like some circumvention. What gives me pause is the 2ER framing is like we have to do what the Hopi people want, which I don't really see like the strategic value of. But there is like a small section of the 2AR that says that only the AF's doctrine can like enforce compliance, and absent like any specific neg evidence, I think that there is like some sort of solvency deficit that exists. So then I looked at the disad, which I think that there's a super low risk of. The AF is like literally a tribe of 7,000. Like I just don't understand coming out of the 2NR why that would be enough to trigger court clog. The 2NR link explanation doesn't really make sense to me. So I ended up concluding that there is like a pretty low risk of disad. Like honestly, like I don't really, maybe like the 2NR explanation went over my head, but you're kind of just like, oh, like the Hopi people, it would be controversial. Like they'll go to the courts, but like even if every single one of them went to the courts, I don't know why that would be enough to trigger like court clog, especially because like patent courts are also just like different, which I think that something that the AF should say, but I just think that this is a very like low risk of the link. So in a world where I think that the AF has some sort of solvency deficit, there's a low risk of the disad, and the AF's framing and ethics arguments are being conceded. I think I can just vote AF on the conceded risk of case outweighing the disad. I think that the negative should have gone for the other counter plan, just because like the 1AR was very, very light on it. And I think that it would be like a pretty easy neg ballot because the 1AR doesn't really make a solvency deficit to it. And I think that the AF should be making theory arguments against both of these counter plans because they're very similar to the AF and are like definitely like pretty abusive. So that could have been another way out.
Okay, great debate. I very much agree with that last RFD. This was a messy debate that was hard for me to parse through, but I ended up choosing the affirmative for the following reasons. Number one, I appreciate how the framing specifically following, like avoiding indigenous essentialism tracked all the way through to the 2AR. I will disagree with Judge Mansour here in that I do actually believe that framing this debate under we have to do what the Hopi want is a pillar of justice. And I do strongly appreciate that framing. That said, I don't buy the impact story of the court clog as well. Specifically, I can see how court clog, which at only 7,000 people, if everyone's going in for water rights, I'm sure it would turn into a class action. Even then, if it was several of those 7,000, the majority of them, I don't see how that would slow down American innovation with patents that would limit international cooperation that would then lead to nuclear war. That jump from international cooperation to nuclear wars was too far for me, never quite made it there. And when we are talking about impacts that are happening right now in the status quo, leaping to those big magnitude impacts for me, like without really spelling out how we're going to get there, that's just not going to do the work. I also would advise the neg, avoid a tag called rights bad. That just left a very sour taste in my mouth, especially when we are talking about communities that have been marginalized for hundreds of years. The foundation of our country is very literally built on the oppression of these people. Saying rights bad, just no. I also agree, though, that going for that other counter plan would have likely made a stronger hit for you. End of the day, though, it's TOC semifinals. This was just incredible feat to get here. Congratulations on all of the hard work and effort you've put into this season. Your coaches should be incredibly proud.
Thank you.
Thank you, judges.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, do y'all have any questions?
The CP didn't solve enough of the case, like for like the DSAT to matter, right? Because
I mean, I thought it did, but I can see where the other judges are coming from, which is that, you know, there is a significant risk that that, you know, without this doctrine, implementation of these strategies to kind of combat arsenic and health issues in like the Hopi communities won't be properly, like won't have the proper oversight and won't have the proper guidance. And maybe you need to combat that a bit better by going more in depth on what the counterplan does, because I think that is something that the 2NR could have done better, was you know, more in depth on how exactly this counterplan looks like the AF, instead of just saying like there's two parts of the AF, strike the first one. That's good top level, but then go below that instead of just relying on that, and then we fill in the gaps.
I have no further questions.
I don't have any questions.
we don't either.
Great. Well, great job, y'all. And good luck to Corey Lane in final.
Thank you.